My name is Andy Laredo, and I'm going to talk to you today about collecting and reporting on audit information in MainView. This audit information will be coming from the DB2 if kids. We will set up collection to make sure we're in those if kids, show you a few online reports and several batch reports to report on this. I just wanted to position where MainView for DB2 falls in our product line, and we have a solution suite called the BMC System Performance for DB2 solution. That's comprised of MainView for DB2, Pool Advisor. The collection of the if kids is controlled or driven by a component called the DBC. DBC is our DB2 component services for performance collection and plays other roles also. It's operating on behalf of the MainView PAS, product address space, and it has a few back-end processes, NGL, which is next generation logger. He's doing logging and writing collected information out to trace files and potentially out to archive trace files. And then also the LGC, that's how we do configuration. So we do configuration of option sets. So we're going to touch on all of that a little bit today. The option sets is where we do the definitions of if kids to collect, and the trace and archive traces are where we end up getting written to. So if we get started, we would start with administration to define the if kids we want to collect. And I'm going to assume you or your administrator can get to this panel. So option 2 to edit the option set. The option sets are comprised of really 4 pieces or chunks of information: the DOMPLEX parameters, which we'll stay away from right now, the data collector list, which defines what collectors are complex, typically a collector per LPAR, or maybe a couple of collectors per LPAR, but typically 1. Then we have the DB2s to monitor within this DOMPLEX definition. And then we have the output groups. The output groups control how we collect, or the data that we've collected, how we map it out. So looking at the DB2 monitor list, you can see there's 7 DB2s defined here. And we're going to drill into DJJ1. See, I've expanded it. And a couple of things we want to make sure is, 1, you have monitor with MainView for DB2 turned on with a Y, which we do. And we want to make sure that the DB2 if kids being traced automatically have the audit if kids included within them. That screen. And this is the DB2 if kids to be traced automatically. And the if kids for auditing are 140 to 145, so you notice they're selected there. When the DBC comes up, starts collecting on behalf of MainView for DB2, these if kids will be collected. Turning our attention to the output groups, in this case we're opening up output group 14, we have to specify that we want DB2 audit turned on. The DB2 audit information is going to be collected and it's going to be routed to output group 14. And then we move on to the panel here with the NGL log set parameters. So the NGL is doing the logging and writing out to the output group, still on group 14. And we have to identify how long we want to keep this data for. So our goal here is 7D or 7 days. And we have to identify whether we want to have archiving turned on. We have enable archiving Y for yes. And then we have a post-processing job, SCD DMR AR, which is an archiving job, which is to take a archive and load it into DB2. The audit options are to just report on it or actually load it into DB2 tables and run reports on it. And then, of course, you can queries in your own thing with it. That's the setup information. And now if we turn our attention to probably the easiest or most straightforward way to report, using the program DOMB Report 1. This is the DBC report writer. It can run a report off of the active trace information, or it can report off of archives. We can figure out automatically which archives to include based on your interval time, lines 30 and 31. And then line 33 tells us what report you want to see, which in this case is the batch audit report, BTH audit. So this is as simple as it can be for setting up batch report of audit information. And that batch report would look something like this. And here we have auth failure information, time when it happened, the auth failure, type of failure, the auth ID, plan, etc. More audit information would be here grant and time and timestamp of when the grant went on. And then here we have DDL, which is showing us first write, first read to the page sets. Page set is identified, the table space is identified, the OBID, table OBID is identified, and again, the date and time. These three displays showed you the batch report writer when you're using the DBC report writer to report called ETH audit. Very simple. Once you're collecting, run this, put it on your schedule, and get it often as. Another option is to go further though and load this into DB2 tables, and that's done with a DPR SMF process, documented report user guide. In this case, you remember back when we were looking at the output groups, archiving had a post process to run this SCDAR job, which is going to load into DB2. So if you look at lines like 509 to 516, that's where the load definitions are for the different types of audit information, what table we're going into, etc. And then 517 to 524, that's the purge information so that we just don't load and load. In this case, we're going to load and only retain 10D, 10 days. Once, of course, it's in DB2, we have other report writers that run off of those tables, and then, of course, use any of your favorite BI tools, etc. Tracking. This is the report writer that's going to run off of the two tables. We're going to against SSID EJJ1. We have a where clause identifying the time range that we want to report on. And we have each table that we want to report on and output reports. So AU sum, AU fail, AU DDL, DML. Those are our audit reports built in that correspond to each of those tables. So you can run many in one step, as you see here, or you could have run individual reports as individual steps, and then you'll get report output broken out by individual report. In this case, I'll get all the reports glued together. These reports will look something like this. So here's the report AU sum, the audit summary report, auth ID, plan, total audits, etc. DDL access. For one plan, you see 15 for another plan. Here's the audit authorization control, grants and revokes. Here's audit DML access. So this is our first read, first write. The database, the page set, table, DBID, things such as that. This is the one audit report that we have in the foreground screens in the BBI3 views of MainView for DB2. It's an auth failure report that you get at from the events view. That is auditing with MainView for DB2. And Andy Laredo, software and area. Thank you very much.